to it next round, hopefully finish our quest then. I'll choose to be on the play. And the hand is pretty decent. Mana screwed on red until turn 3, but the Prophetic Prism does provide me with red, and then I have Metalcraft available right away, so even if they're like Affinity or something and play 4/4, I still get to kill pretty much anything. Elves. Okay, yeah, the Elves matchup game 1 is pretty tough. Post-board it becomes pretty good. I did add the Electricity in the main deck back into my deck, though it's still just a one-off. That definitely helps. I was also playing with the idea of having a Crackland Shaman in my main deck. I did that yesterday for testing reasons, but then I decided against it this morning because I felt like it was too narrow and not good enough in enough matchups. But definitely in this matchup you would want to stall the board with Prismatic Strands and then hit them with a Crackland Shaman afterwards once they've built up a board. Don't really like killing their mana dorks. I would like to slow roll my removal for Timber Watch Elf, but this taps for 2 mana when they're missing their land drops. My opponent's deck is very land light, so feels okay to do that. Just buys me so much time if they don't have land drops, and then potentially I cantrip into another lightning bolt and completely cut them off of mana. If they spend like 2 mana on an Elvish Vanguard here or like a Well-Wisher or something instead of developing more mana. That's very unfortunate. That's basically the exact punishment for what I did that I wanted to avoid. I have to get this back on the board first so that I can potentially cast red spells and deal with one of these two. I have to deal with this one basically whenever possible. Yeah, because now they have active Timber Watch Elf, and that makes all of my damage-based removal spells a lot worse. So that might already be enough of an incentive for me to start playing it aggressively, even though I don't like that game plan all too much. But yeah, let's put Core Skyfisher onto the board and then try to fly over for damage while stopping their attacks with Prismatic Strands. The big downside of playing this aggressively and having this game plan is that you're suddenly weak to all the life gain. When you're on the Prismatic Strands for defense and wipe their board plan, then you can ignore Well-Wisher and Essence Warden, and all of those cards are not really a problem to you. And the aggressive game plan life gain is actually a good countermeasure, and you have to care about cards that you would want to not care about. Yeah, they might be running Land Grant, though here a Land Grant and a land would have been just as good for them. But yeah, now they're already having a Timber Watch Elf that is incredibly threatening with the untap and all that, so I might just die here pretty quickly. And they can use this both to protect itself by untapping it during my turn, as well as trying to kill me pretty quickly, so this is a huge problem. This is exactly what you want to avoid. Okay, I'll read into it later, random guy. So I kind of need Journey to know where the second Prismatic Strands might be enough for me to succeed in flying over for damage, depending on how much life gain my opponent finds. And the Electricity would obviously be great. Yeah, I really would like to play one of my cycle artifacts, but I think I have to spend the turn on the Prismatic Strands, and the next turn I have my mana freed up because I can go like Prophetic Prism and Alchemist Vial and cast the Prismatic Strands from my graveyard. So this turn my mana is pretty restricted, and I don't even have red mana available to me before casting the Prophetic Prism. So basically, if they never gain life and I find my second Prismatic Strands, I might be fine. And I also find a Galvanic Blast or something. drawing to pretty slim outs already. Well, that makes their Timberwatch Elf even more of an engine, though the aggressive potential of the Timberwatch is still not a problem right now. I also wish Pyroclasm was a common, but that is a very selfish, like I wish that for very selfish reasons basically. Because it would make all the decks that I like better. Okay, how much damage is this? 8. That's pretty perfect for me. Because if they put me to 1, I don't even have to strands. And if they do this, I get to kill the Burglar. Kind of for free. I mean, they can do another untap and save the Burglar, but then they're bouncing all of their lands, so it's actually pretty expensive for them. Green. Cut shot. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really intending to go to 1, but yeah, it would have been pretty sick. I guess going to 1 was just correct for me if they decline to untap. Yeah, exactly. I don't see the problem with making elves unplayable either. Okay, so they do save their guy, but now they're on 1 forest. So the Electricity would still be a pretty great tempo swing here. That's not too awful. Though I assume it's going to go on their face. Because if I target Timberwatch now, they just untap it and it saves itself, right? Target creature, so yeah, it doesn't require them to target anything else or so. So flying over for 4 damage return is still the plan, then find enough lightning bolts and Galvanic Nurse to burn my opponent out. Oh, that is good. That was exactly what I was looking for, to remove my opponent's threats. Though it still only slows them down. It doesn't completely get the board under control because they still have so many 1/1s lying around, and it also came a little bit too late in my turn. If I had found that while still being able to cast it, it would have been great for me. Yeah, as I said, it would probably not be healthy for the metagame. As I said, I only want Pyroclasm out of very selfish reasons. Okay, so I guess that might... Oh no, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I sure need to know where the Timberwatch, and then I have to probably Lightning Bolt the Well-Wisher, and then hope I somehow win the race in the air, or I hope to just find what... This attack does not seem great to me. That is not a good attack. Because now, sure, they get to... But now I don't have to strands. And giving me an extra turn of strands is just insane. Okay, now my situation suddenly got a lot better. Because if I go for the journey here, Lightning Bolt there, fly over line of play, then I might end up losing the race to the random 1/1s. And now that they allowed me to keep the Prismatic Strands, I have like a full extra turn of stopping their attacks. That's pretty insane. Though, if I journey the Timberwatch, am I afraid of them responding and pumping Well-Wisher? Because then they get 1 Well-Wisher activation out of it. That might be a problem. Okay, I guess I'll Vial first to see what I can do. If I find a second burn spell, I don't have to worry about anything. I just kill my opponent with 2 burn spells and the flyers. And then if I don't, I probably have to deal with the Well-Wisher. So I can either get rid of both of these, but they can like untap, respond pumping the Well-Wisher, and then they get 1 Well-Wisher activation out of it. That requires my opponent to play this well, which they so far haven't done. But I think it's safer for me to, first of all, respect that, and secondly, give myself a ton of top decks that can potentially win me the game. Yeah, I think journeying the Well-Wisher is just a safer line of play, both because it gives my opponent the respect of them potentially playing correctly, and also I can hold on to my bolt and potentially find wins like that. Having the bolt still in hand might help me against, for example, an Essence Warden where they gain like 1 or 2 extra life. Because I'm attacking them down to 6, then I'm attacking them down to 2. And maybe they gain like 2, then having the extra bolt to combine with the second bolt or something could end up being lethal when otherwise it wouldn't be. Yeah, journeying Well-Wisher just has to be correct, even though leaving them with the Timber Watch is pretty scary. Also, they're at 8 elves now, which is pretty convenient, because that means I don't just die to Mob Justice, though Mob Justice would have been a threat to my life for most of this game. But yeah, not forcing me into using the strands gave me a lot more, yeah, flaring pain for sure. Yeah, I can't really do much about the flaring pain. Ivy Lean Denson, that seems not so great either. Though it does help against like electricity type board vibes when you're going. Maybe it's actually not that bad. When you're going off with Lissalana Huntmaster, then you get a bunch of tokens and you can grow one of your threats really big. So it kind of makes each of your creatures into an Elvish Vanguard, or makes one of your creatures into an Elvish Vanguard. That is not how you're supposed to do it, opponent. I mean, I should just have a win here. But, like, they once again didn't force me to Prismatic Strands. So I could theoretically attack for 2 in the air, keep this back for Prismatic Strands, then attack for another. So now, assuming they don't top deck anything, they're already dead without my Lightning Bolt, because I attack for 2 down to 4, Prismatic Strands off of this, then attack for 4. So they just killed themselves, basically, by not sending 1 extra creature. And it makes no sense. Yeah, I think I'll just let this happen. I mean, I'll still go for the attack for 4 and bolt them win, but like basically they made it so they died against any random card in my hand instead of dying to Lightning Bolt and Galvanic Blast specifically. Yeah, Sage's Row is the best denizen for sure. Yeah, opponent has been misplaying pretty hard. Okay, so Serrated Arrows are great. I think we want Core Sanctifiers because they deal with Spider Silk armor. It's unintuitive to board this in against a deck that otherwise doesn't have any artifacts around top deck. Yeah, not really. Not really a top deck. And I think we board this in as well for Korean Rangers and Timberwatch Elves and all of that. These shut them down. And yeah, these are also coming in, so I mean these 6 for sure, and then these 2 I think they are necessary to board in. I'm willing to, well, with the like Prism, I'm never certain how many of these are still won, because like with the Prismatic Strands into Karkland Shaman, like controlling game plan, becoming the Monarch is actually still pretty nice. But it's difficult to make it work in terms of the numbers of cards that I have in my deck. Because I still need to cut 4. Yeah, but like I can still theoretically fly over with like Core Skyfisher and take the Monarch from them. So even if they become the Monarch, it's not the biggest deal. It's more important that I can protect the Monarch, which is not always the case. I think I'll board all of them out and but I'm not certain on that. Journey is weak to what is it called? Gleeful Sabotage. But also it does answer their higher toughness creatures, and Elvish Vanguard or Timber Watch Elf or something getting out of control is one of the ways that you can lose the matchup, so I'm afraid of those, and I think I want some journeys in my deck. Yeah, not sure. I mean, throwing this out is like a pretty easy thing that you can always do. But it's just very flexible and finds like our high impact cards when a lot of our deck is just random 1-for-1s. Not so easy. Like cutting Bojuka Bug also pretty tempting, but then I have a lower land count that might backfire. Whatever, I'll do that. Because we are trading 1-for-1 so much that we can potentially afford the higher. Yeah, I was thinking about Inspector, but like making it so that they have to send a lot of attackers to like trigger my prismatic strands. We already saw how strong that was game 1. It just first of all, it stops them from putting pressure on me with random 1-1s, so that they actually have to commit to attacks and have like a reason why the attack is good, instead of just hitting me for a 3 or 4 every turn with just 1-1s. Okay, this hand looks insane. And also, yeah, they have to overextend into prismatic strands. Okay, that card I don't care about anymore. Not postboard. It's just Crackling Shaman fodder. I only care about like Timber Watch and Elvish Vanguard. And of course I would want to have some artifacts that are non-lands, so that I can Crackling Shaman more profitably. Also to make my Glinthawk and Skyfisher good, of course. So yeah, Prophetic Prism, best draw here. Electricity, obviously pretty decent draw. Yeah, no reason to Electricity this board. Sure. But yeah, here I'm still taking some random ship damage from just 1-1 that I'm unwilling to trade with. And if I had an Inspector, it would make my Crackling Shaman better, as well as making sure that these can't attack me. So yeah, I really like the Inspector, even though it's kind of a dirty low impact card and there's no aggressive potential through the Inspector at all. Like, you're never attacking with it, and against many of their higher powered cards it also doesn't really trade all that well, but just having them lying around to make 1-1s bad, I think is... What the hell? I have no idea what's going on. Are they just like, okay, I have enough of a board, I can start playing around Rapid Vigor? I can start like playing around Electricity with Rapid Vigor, or what is going on here? Okay, I'll just play this as a blocker, I think. If they end up having Spider Silk Armor, which they currently don't have in hand, otherwise they would have played it. Unless they're watching my stream, that makes no sense to ever hold it back. But yeah, if they end up finding that, I can still bounce my Core Skyfisher, Core Sanctifiers with my Core Skyfisher. Okay, I guess they just have a super clunky hand, or maybe they were willing to hold a ton of elves back in their hand to get full value out of this. What? Mutagenic Growth? No, they cannot even Mutagenic Growth. They have to target my Standard Bearer. No, I have no idea what's going on. What? Is that some kind of like... No, there's no like Delve card in that they could have. There's no like... No, I'm just completely baffled by what's going on. Maybe opponent is actually just like new to the deck and unexperienced, because none of that's made any sense. And could have also bolted aggressively and just started attacking. There was some merit to that, but I think I want to just stall out the board. Reaping the Graves, or like Grim Harvest or something? What the hell? Like, that would make sense. If they have Grim Harvest, they want this Elvish Visionary to die and then get it back from the graveyard. Like, I don't think anyone does that attack without at least a little bit of a plan. Sure. So I think it involves some kind of graveyard recursion out of the black splash. I don't really see a different reason to run a black splash either. Like, you could try to justify it with like duress or something, but that, like, you want your splash cards to be good when you draw. Wow, that would be sick for me. Okay, let's first see if they have some kind of countermeasure to this electricity, though I can't think of one in black. Okay, yeah, now I'll trade, I think. Yeah, I don't think I really need this much. I mean, I could also bolt this instead of trading. Then I get to keep more pressure on the board. Shaman of the pack. I think it's an uncommon. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me check. I thought in my head that it was an uncommon, but maybe they downgraded it somewhere. Shaman of the pack. No, it's always an uncommon. At least that's what magic cards I should be using Scry for, but still. Shaman of the pack. I think it's not Pauper legal. No, it says not legal in Pauper. I mean, that would be a legitimate reason. But I think it's some kind of like Reaping the Graves or Grim Harvest or something. So if I bolt, I get a 2-3 on the board, but don't have a bolt in hand. I think they're far enough out of resources that I want to trade the bolt for a 2-3 on the board. And it also still gives me that possibility of bouncing it later if that becomes relevant. I mean, that would have been more of a reason to journey it instead of bolting it, but I think I'm fine with this. I'll just go aggro from here. And if they ever build up a board again, I get to shaman it away. Probably even bounce both of my lands. Like, I'm setting myself back quite a bit on mana, but like, they have one card in hand. It has to be Lead the Stampede for them to have any chance. I guess the biggest downside of this is that I only have one artifact in my, like, on my board, so that building the Crocodile Shaman up to 2 or 3 damage is going to take a while. So let's see. Sure. So Reaping the Graves for 2 now would make sense. That would be something that I could understand from opponent. Am I willing to trade this off? No, I don't think so. Cast it or wait a turn. Also journey their guy or not journey their guy. Journey it. If I journey, I should have attacked with the standard Bearer of Prayers. I was thinking I wasn't going to. Well, you run 4 Lead the Stampedes for sure, and this deck wants to run like 8 Lead the Stampedes, so I think the bigger issue is that many of your splash cards are supported by Burglar Ranger, and the time where Reaping the Graves is good is after your board gets wiped, and then you don't have access to Burglar Ranger anymore, so like splashing cards that rebuild your board is kinda terrible, because you want to splash cards that go well with you having a board, because that's the time where you actually have access to your splash colors. I think I keep going aggressive, though it feels pretty unintuitive to me. It's not my preferred mode of operation with this deck, but the situation seems to call for it. So like Distant Melody, it looks like a win more card, but at least it makes sense, because once you have a big board, your Burglar Ranger gives you blue mana. Okay, so the Timber, well, I should have maybe journeyed the Well-Wisher, but I still can. The Timber Watch is completely irrelevant. Well, I guess all of these are kind of irrelevant because they run into Crocodile Shaman at some point. But I want to stop my opponent from gaining too much life so I can close this game out quicker. Yeah. Well, if I Crocodile Shaman, I lose my Standard Bearer though, but my opponent has 0 cards in hand, 0 elves on the board. If I sack these two, and I lose this and this, but I keep all 4 of my creatures, they untap, heal themselves for 3 to 27, take 8 down to 19, then I'm pretty far away from, and it's the 3-turn clock. Alternatively, I can just like journey this and let them have their board. Yeah, I think journeying it and letting them have their board is slightly better, because like blowing these 3 up and just journeying this are about the same effect on my dominance on the board, because I can still be attacking with the same 4 that would survive the Crackland Shaman. I'm still stopping them from gaining life, and this is still irrelevant as long as there's, well, they should have attacked. Oh no, they can't untap because they have to untap my standard bearer. Sure. Yeah, but this is irrelevant. Facing down the standard bearer, this is irrelevant. And like worst case, they get enough power on the board that they can triple block this or something. I'm not afraid of that at all. Yeah, so it does seem slightly better. There's no reason to Shaman yet, and then if things ever go wrong, I can still do that at a later point. Sure. Maybe this might be the later point. Take them for 8 down to 8. Then I have this, and yeah, I don't think there's any card in the format that helps them there. And I think it's worth killing this with 2 artifacts instead of just dealing 1. Like, I'm further away from Metacraft, but without the standard bearer, the Timberwatch is actually a little bit of a threat. Oh yeah, might be overthinking that. I'm definitely overthinking this, because game is pretty over. Wail of the Nim and Plague Witches. Oh, I guess Wail of the Nim is like another version of Rapid Vicar, just more expensive. What is a Plague Witches? I didn't even know that card. Plague Witch. Plague Witch, discard a card. What the hell? That seems terrible. The Wail of the Nim I get. It's pretty sweet. Gives you like a way of dealing damage to opposing creatures, and also another way of regenerating your own board when you get board wiped. So I think Wail of the Nim might be legit, though still pretty inconsistent to support that off of a splash. But yeah, then you have another way of protecting your board with Burglar Ranger. I do like that idea. I wouldn't recommend it necessarily, but I think it's like a legitimate idea. Plague Witches seems pretty awful. I mean, yeah, no. Yeah, no. Because Plague Witches, I mean, sure, you're adding another hate card for opposing opposing 1 toughness creatures, so it makes like your Delver matchup better in theory, but you can just run the Viridian Longbow, and the Viridian Longbow actually synergizes super well with like Netted Sentinels and Korean Rangers. So I think it's fixing a problem that didn't actually exist, because you don't have enough black mana to support tapping and untapping and tapping it again. Not only does it cost you cards in hand, but also you have to have multiple sources of black. Yeah, don't let K, that might be the case. Though in the challenge